Hello, Makwidi. We're going to be beginning the first hour of the show with a very powerful story unfolding out in Cape Town. A story about, identity, exclusion, and the cost of dissent. At the heart of its acclaimed at the heart of it is acclaimed South African writer, actor, and activist Megan Choritz, who found herself on the outside of her own community's literary gathering. Quite literally. At the recent Jewish Literary Festival held fittingly on Freedom Day, Megan and fellow activist Jared Sachs staged a peaceful protest outside the venue. This is after she was dropped from the program. The reason, well, her vocal stance on Palestine. Once celebrated in mainstream Jewish spaces, Megan now finds herself labeled a couple, a word loaded with historical trauma and now repurposed to attack Jews who speak out against Israel's war on Gaza, this genocide, which is live streamed and we are all witnessing in real time. To help us unpack this very, very, I think, deeply emotional and politically charged moment and what it reveals about freedom of expression, number one. Secondly, Jewish identity and the boundaries of acceptable dissent. I'm joined now by Megan Choritz, who's joining us via a virtual platform. Megan, thank you for being with us. Really, really appreciate you being on the show. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me, Salahilo. Really great to be here.
Pleasure's all ours. I think let's start with what's at the heart of the story or controversy. How is it that Megan Choritz, once very, very celebrated by the Jewish community, came to be labeled a couple and told she's not a Jew by her own people?
Look, I've always been quite clear about my anti-Zionist stance, but it was always seen as a kind of, I imagine, a kind of unfortunate little episode about me, and that it wasn't taken very seriously. And literally just before October the 7th exploded into our lives and forced us to be really, really loud, I was kind of celebrated by the Jewish community for my work, for my writing, for my theatre work, and so it was a real shock to me that there was such an enormous about turn when my activism and my pro-Palestinian stance took such focus. And now what happened with the literary festival was a very interesting slow creep of them never completely admitting to not having me on the program, that they did a series of ignoring and then not really answering and then saying that they were full. And my publisher kept on asking them, why aren't you having Megan? Her book is about growing up in a Jewish home during apartheid. Why isn't she part of the program? And they kept on deflecting until finally they admitted that it was because of my extreme politics, that they couldn't have someone who was going to be contentious and disruptive at their literary festival, and that they were neutral when it came to politics. They were open to debate and discussion, but that they were neutral politically, until, of course, you looked at the program and saw that they had many outspoken Zionists on their program who were obviously not considered very neutral.
Very, very concerning, Megan. I was reading a short piece by Kevin Bloom. It touched a bit on, Primo Levi's empathy for the moral complexity of Holocaust collaborators. Do you think today's political climate allows for that kind of moral nuance, especially when it comes to Israel and Palestine?
No, I don't think there's a possibility of being morally nuanced here. And I think that any genocide denial or any sitting on the fence or any kind of, it's complicated discussion is nonsense. We've all got eyes. We can all see exactly what's going on. More importantly, the Israelis are telling us what they're doing and what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. There is no there is no nuance about it. They are absolutely engaged, quite publicly, in ethnic cleansing, starvation, and genocide. And they warn us about what it is that they're going to do before they do it, and nobody stops them. And that's on us.
No, definitely. The festival organizers themselves claimed, they wanted to avoid partisanship, by excluding yourself, in the festival. But, isn't silence in the face of this genocide itself, not a form of partisanship?
Look, it's nonsense what they're saying. As far as I'm concerned, they are trying to now backtrack and find excuses for excluding me and thinking that they were going to get away with it. So the minute I was excluded, I was wondering about how I was going to handle it. And I kept what I was going to do, my tiny little protest, I kept very, very secret until the day. And on the one hand, I think that was a good choice, and on the other, I think it was a bad choice, because there were panelists and there were participants who had no idea that that is what had happened to me. And I think that they felt quite conflicted on arriving at the festival and seeing me and my little sign. And they were quite unaware of the fact that I had been excluded, and this did make them uncomfortable. So it is important to say that there were people who were part of the festival, even just ordinary, festival goers, participants, who were deeply uncomfortable about what had happened to me, and certainly I think would have had second thoughts about attending if they had known. The majority, of course, were like, don't let her anywhere near us. She's, a dangerous terrorist.
I want us to take a quick break, but then when we come back, I would like to just closely, just get your insights on generally how are, pro-Palestine Jewish people treated, themselves and their families in the greater scheme of things, because I feel like, you're, not being being banned essentially from this festival represents a microcosmic of something which is bigger, because you still have to exist on an everyday life with that tag that, you are not one of us, you've been disowned. But we'll touch on that after the short break.
This is Salam Media.
It's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal South Africa's Breakfast Club aims to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend their day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner for only 5 Rand a day, or 150 Rand a month. Or visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny Appeal. Big difference.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with a spectacular beauty. Relax beneath the serene sunset and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true experience. For reservations, call now on 042 The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. The gathering.
Kurbani, Maulana Timur, abroad for Kurbani. Many people in the villages live well below the poverty line and only eat meat on the days of Eid al-Adha. Support this cause at 2,100 Rand for 7 shares or 300 Rand per share. Contact Maulana Timur, Maulana Sajjad, Maulana Hamad or Maulana Abbad on 011 852 6324 or 072 299 9268 or 082 368 6866 or 072 697 0131 or 073 576 9786. All slaughtering will be supervised by a team of foreign and local ulama. Visit www.operationkurbani.org.za.
Abu Huraira narrated that he heard the Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, say, "In black seed there is a healing for every disease except death. Experience the health benefits of this ancient blessed seed by using the Tib Black Seed range. Black seed assists the body to boost immunity, regulate blood sugar levels, reduce inflammation, and act as a potent antioxidant. Experience a holistic approach to health by introducing the Tib Black Seed range into your routine. Available in capsules, pure cold-pressed oil, and a vapor rub. Trust Tib Health Sciences for quality black seed products. For more information, visit blackseed.co.za. Available at leading pharmacies.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makwidere. And if you've just joined us, we're still in conversation with South African Jewish playwright and also author Megan Choritz, whose removal from a Cape Town literary festival due to a pro-Palestine stance has stirred up, I think, at this point, a national debate. But her story also feels microcosmic of a larger global tension, the silencing of Jewish voices who oppose Israel's actions in Gaza. Megan, thank you so much for staying with us. Before we went on that short break, you shared your experiences, of the festival. But more broadly, how are Jewish people who support Palestine generally treated by others within the Jewish community who align strongly with Israel? And how do you feel and respond to being labeled with terms like a capo, a word with a lot of painful historical weight, and is now used by some to silence or shame what they consider as dissenters?
Yes. I think let's start with the idea that I think globally, certainly with young Jewish people, there is a huge movement towards anti-Zionism. In the past, there's been a very, very almost impenetrable wall of Judaism and Zionism being thought of as one thing. And more in the last while, certainly since the 2012, 2014 incursions into Gaza and the devastation of that, there's been more and more an awareness, and young Jews, certainly in America, in the UK, even in Australia, have been thinking more and more along the lines of the fact that anti-Zionism, that Judaism is not Zionism, and that Zionism itself is anti-Jewish. In South Africa, there's been a vice grip of Zionism on the Jewish community. So I think it's been much more difficult for Jews in South Africa to break away from the Jewish community, or even try and speak out about anti-Zionism for fear of being excluded from the Jewish community. I have been estranged from the Jewish community since for a very long time because of my anti-Zionist stance. But there are South African Jews who are So obviously all the members of South African Jews for a Free Palestine, and there are dissenters. And I think more and more there are people who are starting to ask the question. This thing about a couple, for me, is it's the lowest. It's the lowest of the low. It's a slur, and for me, it's being called a couple is, it's not even hurtful. It's ridiculous. It's a form of it's the same as any troll or any low life using the word couple to as a last resort when they have run out of argument, when they've run out of debate. And I'm certainly seeing increasingly.
Can I just jump in there? Would you say
Yeah.
it's similar to when they quote anti-Semitism every time a conversation is being lost, when the facts are being presented, and well, the easiest thing is to claim anti-Semitism?
It's exactly the same thing. It's just harder to call a Jew an anti-Semite. So kapo is the next thing. But this conflation of anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism is deliberate. It is effective, and it has, I think, it's silenced the voices more of non-Jewish people who are afraid to speak out in case they're going to be called an anti-Semite.
And I'd like to stick on that because I know many South Africans and a lot of people across the world, Jewish and non-Jewish alike, are grappling with how to stand for the rights of the people of Palestine vocally without being labeled anti-Semitic. What guidance, if there's any, does this story offer to those navigating that tightrope?
Look, it's scary in the beginning because, of course, you will be called an anti-Semite, but that word has lost all meaning. The word anti-Semite and anti-Semitism has lost all meaning, and this is the fault of Zionism. So it's almost like a non-argument. You're going to be called an anti-Semite if you stand up for Palestine and if you stand up against the ethnic cleansing, starvation, and genocide, and now annexation. We mustn't forget that actually at the moment they've told us they're going to take over the whole of Gaza. And this has been the point, I think, from the beginning. So people are going to be called anti-Semitic. It means nothing. It's lost all meaning.
No, definitely. And just in closing, Megan, this entire saga unfolded on a very, very important day here in South Africa, on Freedom Day. What does it say about the state of our freedoms, of our conscience, of our freedom of expression, most importantly, when, a literary festival chooses exclusion over conversation?
What I think is more important here, I mean, the exclusion is one thing. I think they thought they were going to get away with it. I think they had no idea that I was going to do anything. But what really bothers me, and this is a Cape Town issue, I think, is that they have a direct line to the police. So they kept on phoning the police as if I was at fault, as if I was the person who was doing something dangerous or illegal or inappropriate. And I'm deeply concerned that there's a relationship between the Zionist community and the municipal local government here, because the police were at their command, and that really, really concerns me.
No, definitely.
And that's definitely
Megan,
anti-freedom.
Definitely is. Megan, unfortunately, we have run out of time. Thank you so much for giving us your time, and thank you for your bravery. I think you're doing, some very, very commendable work, and it's not always easy, especially when you go against what many consider your own kind.
Thank you.
There you
Appreciate
go.
it.
That was Megan Choritz. Yeah, man. She sat outside the Jewish Literary Festival on Freedom Day, not in protest of Jewish identity, but I think in defense of it in its fullest, most moral form, with the keffiyeh around her shoulders, a book on her lap, and the sign inviting dialogue. Those weren't just symbols, they were questions. The festival inside chose not to ask, but maybe, just maybe, that's where real literature and real justice begins. We're going to take a quick break. News and Views continues after this.